Welcome to the WiseTake DFS podcast, sponsored by the hottest team in the DFS industry, Daily Roto Sharks. If you want to be prepared for your DFS slates every night, you need to join the hashtag Sheet Squad movement. Check it out by clicking the link in the description below. I am your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I'm joined here by two of my WiseTake regulars, as well as two Daily Roto Sharks contributors. We got Matt Amon. You can find him on Twitter at MattAmon123. You can also find his articles on Daily Roto Sharks. They're called Matt's Stacks. And, of course, we got Steve Hillman, better known as Fuego Steve. You can find him on Twitter at Fuego_Steve. And, of course, you can always find Fuego's value plays for both NBA and MLB over on Daily Roto Sharks. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Everything's good.
Good, CK. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a while since we had Fuego on, but it's good. I see the new digs behind you, so it's good to see that you're a little more settled. I know you were sick for a little while, man. You caught that bug going around, huh?
Yeah, man. It would bore me out.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine, dude. And, Matt, I think you have a little mini sweat coming on. Oh, no, not a mini sweat. You have a decent-sized sweat. You got Cahill going, right?
Yeah, I have a bunch of Cahill, and he's doing really, really well. I was actually doing really good in the turbo slate, and I was in first for a while, but actually one of my best friends just took me over, and I think between the two of us, we have like 8 of the top 10, so shout out to MBolt1 for taking all my money.
That's what friends are for.
That's right.
So before I do want to give a shout out to Benjamin and the Chauvin one from RotoCurve. They both had some great takes last night. They were all over the Twins. They were all over Santana. Both had great performances on the Dong Watch. They were on point. They had a lot of great home run calls. So shout out to you guys. It was fun on the pod, and we'll definitely get you guys back. But awesome job, awesome takes. And now the pressure is on for us. For me, Matt, and Steve, we got to give some awesome takes. And we're going to try our best because this slate is big and it's funky. There's something off, right? Like the slate is just weird.
It is very weird. It's like at first glance, there's not pitchers that I love, and there's not stacks that I love. So we're going to have to dive deep together to try to figure it out.
For sure. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. We got Marcus Stroman of the Toronto Blue Jays visiting CC Sabathia, the lefty of the New York Yankees. Go ahead, Matt. Start us off.
Well, this is an interesting game to start off with. The Yankees have been on fire with the bats. Stroman has been really good, so it's kind of an interesting matchup of those two. That being said, I can't play Stroman today at 10,000 on DraftKings. It's just too much against a Yankee lineup that doesn't strike out, and he's not a strikeout pitcher. He's a very elite ground ball pitcher. But that being said, I don't think I'm going to want the Yankees, even though they've been hot, just because Stroman does such a good job keeping the ball on the ground. On the other side, Toronto's been really bad this year, but they are very right-handed, so that should give them a little bit of an edge over CC. CC has struggled with the home runs in his last few starts and has not been very good. So at very low ownership, I could see a Toronto stack here. I could see Batista, Kendrys Morales, Russell Martin, Steve Pearce, Kevin Pillar, Justin Smoke, type stack. I think would be fine, interesting, low ownership, and a great ballpark. So I have a little interest in Toronto.
Okay, Fuego, what you got for us?
Yeah, so I would play bats from either side. I don't really like either pitcher. Both teams, it's a 8.6 total. Both teams have a 4.3 implied run total, which is not the highest, but it's kind of in the middle towards the highest on the slate with a lot of low run totals. So I think both these teams are going to go overlooked. And I just am not interested in either pitchers at their prices. So I would have some players from each side.
Yeah, I was really surprised on both sides to see Marcus Stroman's price. Listen, he came off a great game, and I don't want to take anything away from him. And Matt, you guys had a great call. I think it was you and Ben who called Stroman. And while you didn't win the bet, I mean, it was pretty darn close. Stroman had an awesome game. So I get it, but it was against the Rays, right? This is the Yankees. This is a red-hot offense. This is a hitter's park. So it's a little strange. So I don't have any interest in the pitchers either. I like Toronto. I think CeCe's kind of becoming that guy that teams get right against lefties. We know Baltimore struggled against lefties. We saw it again tonight with Sale. Well, they tagged up CeCe the other night. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Toronto kind of get right a little bit here in this ballpark. I love the Toronto bats. And to Fuego's point, I don't mind the Yankees bats either because they've been so hot. But I would only want maybe one or two guys that hit fly balls. I'm not looking for if you're a ground ball hitter against Stroman, you're in trouble. You're going to hit it on the ground. So I'm not in love with the Yankees offense, but I do think that they've been hot enough to where I'm going to take a look for sure. But I like Toronto for sure. We got Robbie Ray, the lefty from the Arizona Diamondbacks, visiting Gio Gonzalez, another lefty from the Washington Nationals. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, normally I love Robbie Ray, and we know he has elite strikeout stuff. But I think as of right now, I'm just taking the attitude of I'm not pitching anyone against the Nationals because they're just too good. So I'm not interested in Ray. I do have a little interest in Gio just because the Diamondbacks do strike out a little bit, and obviously it's a huge park downgrade for them. So I do have a little interest in Gio, and the pitching on the slate isn't great, especially kind of in this middle tier. So I think Gio is an interesting option, but on the other side, I don't mind the Arizona righties. Your Goldschmidts and Pollocks, who's been really good, and Yasmani Tomas can hit a home run. And then on the national side, I think it's kind of a stack or a stay away for me, just because he does have a tendency to get wild and walk people. So if it goes bad, I expect it to go really bad. But I think he's talented enough to kind of hold him at bay to where I'm not really interested in one-offs.
For sure. Fuego, what you got for us?
I pretty much second everything he said, except I have maybe a little more interested in Gio. This slate, as we said, is not really coming together this early. But if he can, he's got the upside at least. I think he's got more of a floor actually than the super high ceiling, but he's put up 43, 46, 44, 39, so he can get it done. And agreed, and I wouldn't be opposed to paying some of Reddy bats as well. And no interest in Arizona's pitching, and always have a little interest in the Nats hitters, like a 3-man stack, a 2-man stack.
Yeah, they certainly have the righties for it to give Ray some trouble. It'd be an interesting time to take like a Murphy or Harper one-off, just because they're between their prices and the fact that they're in lefty-lefty matchups. It'd be an interest. I'm not saying that it's a lock, but I think it would be an interesting time if you can afford it to just try it in at least a couple lineups and see how it does. Robbie Ray, he does have from time to time he can walk guys, so you don't know how long he's going to last. So there'll probably be a lot of righties in there anyway. And I think that's interesting. I'm not too big on Gio. I see the merit in it. I'm not personally too big on it, just because Arizona's really been swinging those bats well. But I get it. I mean, listen, Arizona strikes out, and Gio can get those strikeouts. He's not the best, but he can get it done. So other than that, I'm not crazy about this game in general. You guys want to move on?
Yeah.
I think you guys might like this game a little bit more. Kevin Gausman, the gas can from Fuego's Baltimore Orioles, visiting Drew Pomeranz, the southpaw from the Boston Red Sox. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I used to think Gausman was good, but apparently he's not.
You should see some of my text threads. Oh boy, last year I basically if you're familiar with Harry Potter and He Shall Not Be Named, that's what I called Gausman because I was sick of listening to it. And I said, you can't mention the Gausman's in the thread. And it turns out he is not very good so far this year. And a lot of people in season long were high on him too. And I was like, ooh, let's wait and see.
He throws hard, but he just throws so flat. The ball how do you throw 96, 97 miles an hour with the ball not moving? Like that defies the laws of physics almost. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Matt, but yeah, that would give me interest in the Boston bats for sure. And I have some interest in Pomeranz against Baltimore. They just haven't been playing that well. But at the same time, and they're not good against lefties. But at the same time, Pomeranz hasn't been killing it. And maybe if they can get to the bullpen, they could get something done. I mean, he hasn't gone over 6 innings yet, with some 4s and 5s in there. So I'd be willing to take a chance with the Baltimore bats, as I always would.
For sure. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I like Boston a lot here. I like the Boston Bats a lot. They just faced Gausman 2 weeks ago, and they beat him up pretty bad in Baltimore. They hit 3 home runs off him, 5 runs in 5 innings. So I like the Red Sox a lot here. It seems like they're kind of starting to get it together. They're starting to heat up a little bit. So I like the Boston stack. It's my favorite one we've gone through so far. And then I do have interest in Pomerantz. He's faced Baltimore already twice this season and had 1 good game and 1 mediocre game. So I think he's another guy at this mid tier that you could go to. Yeah, but I mean, I could see Baltimore getting to him too because he can get blown up also.
Yeah, well, and I did, my MO is I forgot to mention the 4.9 implied total for the Red Sox is tied for the highest on the slate. So absolutely, I would be going there. I've definitely been all about, maybe not all about, but I definitely like the Vegas stuff. And if I am a tiebreaker, I lean towards the run scored.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's certainly merit to that. I'm not big on either pitcher here. To be honest, it's just like my way of thinking when I'm playing tournaments. I'm thinking like this. So the Orioles just got shut down by Sale. Sale had a monster game, a lefty. So I just feel like people are just going to assume that Pomerantz, because of his, especially with his price. On FanDuel, he just didn't, I think he finally broke the 8Ks, but he's still cheap enough that you can get whatever bat you want if you play him. And he is a good pitcher. I'm not taking that away from him. But Baltimore's kind of iffy with lefties, right? Like, they can strike out a ton, but we also seen, like, against CC, they can also light you up. So it's strange. It's a smaller ballpark. The wind seems to be blowing out a little bit, even though it's blowing out to right. That wouldn't really, if anything, that would probably, that wouldn't be great for the Boston hitters. I'm the Oriole hitters so far, but I love the Boston Bats. I'm with you guys, but I really like the Baltimore Bats as well. I think this is a spot where they could really get it. And like you said, Matt, one time he had a good start and one time he didn't. So it's going to be a coin flip. But I know everybody's going to run to Boston, and I'll be on Boston too. I just think that maybe they might actually overlook the Orioles. I really do, and that's a powerful lineup. Anything to add, or should we move on?
I think you're right about Baltimore. They could definitely do it in this spot. But I will say by the end of the show, I'm going to make you take a stand on some of these pitchers because it's, the pitching is really ugly on this slate, and it's easy just to kind of run from everybody.
Right.
So I think, at the end, we'll kind of try to point out a few guys that we would take over others in each range.
That's completely fair. 100% fair. Absolutely. And in my mind, again, guys, remember, I play primarily FanDuel, so I really only need one pitcher per lineup. Matt plays primarily on DraftKings. He needs at least 2 for every lineup. So Matt's, that's something to consider also.
And also a lot of the listeners are like me and Fuego, where we play every slate.
Sure.
We play the main slate, we play the turbo, we play the late night. So if you're on DraftKings, you're going to end up needing to use 8 pitchers in the day.
For sure, that's a solid point. Absolutely. All right, we got Carlos.
Speaking of pitchers, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. We got Carlos Carrasco of the Cleveland Indians visiting Matt Boyd, the southpaw from the Detroit Tigers. Go ahead, Matt. Start us off.
Well, I mean, Carlos Carrasco, you gotta like he's strikes people out, and Detroit's very right-handed. And I think I looked at the weather here a second. Pitching, wind blowing in. Carrasco here, I would think he's my favorite so far. And then I have to dig in. I feel a little bit too much control issues for me to want Boyd, and then I do kind of like Cleveland on the other side.
For sure. Go ahead, Fuego. What you got for us?
I really like Carrasco. Nice jam. Sorry, basketball. So I really like Carrasco. Minus his first game out, which is, they always go less innings their first game out. He's gone 6.2, 7, 8 innings. Striking out 7, 8, 5, 7, 7. I really like him on the slate because we just said there's not a lot of pitchers we want to take a stand on. Now, he is the second most expensive on FanDuel, but as you just said, if you're playing on FanDuel, you only need one. So I think I'm going to target him and see how the bats go. If we can find some value bats, if I can target him, and just because I like his upside the most. Detroit does not scare me right now. They have a few bats that can get it done on any given day. But Carrasco right now is my favorite pitcher so far.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. Carrasco by far is my favorite pitcher, and then that's not a hot take. He's the most expensive that we've talked about thus far for a
Sure.
reason. So I'm
Right.
with you, Carrasco. I love the matchup. He's the one out of Kluber, Salazar, and Carrasco. He's the one that I feel the most comfortable with against the Tigers. He's got pretty dominant stuff against righties, and he's got a better track record than the other two do. So it does kind of stink for him that Miguel Cabrera's back. Obviously, you don't like to mess with him. He went yard today, but do you know what it is? They're lefties. Like, their best hitters are right-handed. I'm not really afraid of their lefties. Tyler Collins, Alex Avila. Avila's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on the guy. But Aducci, I'm not really afraid of these guys. Victor Martinez hasn't done much this year. So yeah, I like Carrasco a lot. And I love the Indians' bats as well, as usual, just simply because of the fact that, Matt Boyd has a walk issue typically, and we'll probably see their bullpen, and that's always great news. And Cleveland can probably go overlooked because they always do. So, what's interesting, I think so far I'm seeing, it's making me like the Baltimore, at least on FanDuel, it's making me like the Baltimore stack a little bit more because of the pricing there. And stacking the Baltimore guys could help me afford a guy like Carrasco. So that's just food for thought. And in the ad guys, or should we move on?
Is Carlos Santana first base only on FanDuel?
Yes, he is.
That's that. What about Jose Ramirez? Where can you play him? Is he third base or second base?
Third base. That's it. Because you got Kipnis at second.
Okay, that's good. Well, on DraftKings, he's second base. It's just, it's annoying to stack a team like Cleveland when you can't play two of their best hitters together.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
I hate it. There's some teams. Yeah, sorry for interrupting. But yeah, there's some teams. They got two first basemen, and they're batting fourth and fifth, and you can't because you can only play one. It gets frustrating.
Yeah, no.
They fixed that on DraftKings this year for the most part.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal job by DraftKings for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we got Jamison Talion of the Pittsburgh Pirates visiting Rookie Davis of the Cincinnati Reds.
Nice. Sorry.
I thought you liked Rookie Davis. I was like, what?
Yes, let's play Rookie Davis.
Like, excuse me? All right, go ahead, Matt. What you got for us?
Anyways, Rookie Davis he stinks. Don't play him. And the Pirates seem to be getting it going here. They've had several games in double digits the last week. So in this ballpark against Rookie Davis, I have a lot of interest in Pittsburgh. And then Tyon on the other side, I have to look into. I feel like his strikeout rate isn't really high enough for me to want to use him. But I've been saying that the mid tier is pretty weak here. So, I mean, it's just hard. I don't think I want to go with him. I'm talking myself out of him because Cincinnati doesn't really strike out that much either.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't think I would want any Tyon. I like Pittsburgh bats a lot. And get at me tomorrow. I might like Cincinnati a little bit too.
For sure. Go ahead, Fuego.
You familiar with Rookie Davis by any chance? Did you see his last game out?
I know he got beat up.
2.2 innings.
Right.
Yeah, 2.2 innings, 11 hits, 7 earned runs, a -7 on FanDuel.
Sounds like a real winner.
Yeah, and that was against Milwaukee. You wonder why teams have so many home runs.
Yeah, because he faced Cincinnati for 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would throw the Pittsburgh bats out there. I've been playing them some recently, and they've been coming through. So I would throw the Pittsburgh bats out there, and definitely don't play Davis for sure. And no real interest in maybe on DraftKings. What's his price over there?
Who's that? Tyon?
Yeah, maybe a little more interest, but I'm not loving it either. There's a few more pitchers coming up that I like, so.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't like either of the pitchers here. Although, again, I'll admit for Matt's sake, as if I was looking for a second starting pitcher at a decent price, I wouldn't mind him. It's just the ballpark and the fact that I don't think the Reds are bad, but they're not playing as bad as they probably are. So in the meantime, I don't want to go against them. I love the Pirates have been killing people, man. Especially Harrison over there, man. He had a double dong day yesterday. Then he had another home run today. They're red hot right now, and this is a great ballpark for him. Anyways, we got Adam Connolly, the lefty from the Miami Marlins, against Blake Snell, the lefty from the Tampa Bay Rays. It's weird. Today, I think the game was in Miami, and now tomorrow the game's going to be in Tampa.
Now they're going to Tampa.
Yeah, kind of strange. Go ahead, Matt. What you got for us?
I didn't even notice that when I first looked. I just assumed it was in Miami because the last few have.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes a difference. That makes a big difference.
Sure.
I feel like Blake Snell is a pitcher that could do really well on the spot, but if you roster him, get ready for a bumpy ride because he has a hard time throwing strikes. He's really wild.
Yeah.
And for that reason, a Miami stack here that'll go totally unowned is very interesting. It always makes a lot of sense to target stacks against these guys that can't throw strikes. Because, there's going to be a lot of base runners.
Sure.
Anyways, on the other side, Adam Conley's been really bad too. I mean, he used to be another guy that I thought was really good, and this year he's just been terrible too. He's been getting lit up left and right. So I think just by my little speech there, and I didn't even think it going in, I think I actually have a lot of interest in all the bats in this game.
Right.
And they're all really cheap on DraftKings too. So yeah, I'm digging the bats here.
Okay, let's go, Fuego. What you got?
Same. Blake Snell hasn't gone over 5 innings. April 6th he went 6 innings. He's gone 5-5-5-4, giving up 2 earned runs, 3 earned runs, 4 earned runs, and then so I have no interest in him, and which means in this case I always like Miami bats, righties against lefties, so I'm on board with the big bats for sure, and yeah. Conley is one who maybe I would go to as a second guy on DraftKings. Though I wouldn't love it. You got a high risk there, but we said we got to pick somebody. It's only 6,300, and Miami isn't the best hitters in the world, so maybe I'd think about it.
Take a stand, baby. Let's do it.
I'm saying maybe I'll think about it.
It's interesting to me because initially I'm like, okay, Connolly, that's not bad against the Rays. But then I thought about it. Listen, the other night, or was it? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. I played I played Chen against the Rays, and he did pretty good. He didn't get the win, but he got like 37 FanDuel points, which for him was pretty good. He went pretty deep into the game. So for me, it's like, are people gonna look at that and think like, oh yeah, Connolly is even better than Chen, so I'm gonna make Connolly my second pitcher on DraftKings because he's so cheap, and then he gets rocked. I think I like the Tampa Bay bats here. I really do. I think that Ricky Weeks, super cheap. He strikes out a ton. Either he strikes out or hits a home run. Salza, either strike out or hit a home run. So I think I guess saying it that way, it would I guess play a tiny bit of Connolly and then have some hedge stacks against him, because I like the Rays though. I do like the Rays. I don't think Connolly, even though I think Connolly is better than Chen, I have a feeling they're home now. It's a little different. I think I like the Rays a little bit. What do you guys think? Am I wrong for that?
Connolly gave up 9 earned runs in 1.2 innings last time out. I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So to me, it's kind of a toss-up. I'm gonna have to check that. I want to see where the line moves. To be honest with you, I've already told you guys, I'm pretty big on Vegas line movements. So I'm gonna have to see where this goes. But as of right now, I like the Rays bats. As of right now, for sure. And I don't mind the Miami bats. Don't get me wrong.
They have a 4.3 implied run total, so they're another one of those mid to higher ones on the slate.
For sure, absolutely. Okay, we got.
I like all.
Yeah, no. I definitely like all the bats for sure. You're 100% right, Matt. Okay, we got my boys, Jacob deGrom of the New York Mets visiting Bartolo Colon of the Atlanta Braves. Go ahead, Matt.
It's crazy that the Mets are free on DraftKings, and they were today, and I've just been playing them like crazy. I love the Mets again. I know we talk every time how you don't like to stack against Bart, because he never gives it up, but he gave it up last game, and I think there's no reason that he can't give it up again here. And like we said, this Atlanta ballpark seems to be really good for lefty power, and we know the Mets have plenty of lefties. So I like the Mets here, and then deGrom is my favorite pitcher on the slate. His stuff's been really good lately, really on 3 games in a row, double-digit strikeouts. He's my favorite pitcher on the slate. And then obviously no Atlanta bats.
For sure. Go ahead, Fuego.
Yeah, lefty Mets, and I don't think I like deGrom quite as much, but I definitely, I do, I guess. Yeah, his ceiling is just up there.
It's like, what, his hair is great.
Have you made any trade? Can we get Carrasco and him in the same lineup? I don't like.
Hey, you can play both of them and stack up that last game and it would be easy. You'd have plenty of money.
That's
I
interesting.
just produced one that has Jay Bruce from the New York Mets in it.
There you go.
Yeah, I like DeGrom for sure. His ceiling is just through tip top. 33 GK points, 34 GK, 58 FanDuel points. So those are my two favorite pitchers, Carrasco and DeGrom.
Man, I want to like
And the most highest price. I mean, hey, it's chalk, I guess. Call me chalky today.
Yeah, no, I want to like DeGrom. I really do, and I do like him as of now. What I'm concerned about, and again, I could be weighing too much into it, but I'm a little bit concerned about the money line here. So DeGrom opened up at a 125 favorite. DeGrom versus Cologne, 125. That's crazy. Now, granted, it looks like the smart money kind of came on the Mets because it's up to like 140 and 150 in some places. So I'm assuming that's the Sharps just saw that, thought it was way too cheap, and hopped on him. So I do like DeGrom. But I have a little bit of concerns. I know he has some really, really bad BABIP numbers this year, and the Braves have been hitting the ball well. I know it was Matt Harvey, but still, they're hitting the ball well. So I'm a little concerned. As of right now, DeGrom and Carrasco are my two favorites, and that's not a hot take. They're the two expensive pitchers that we've gone through so far. But as far as the Mets, I hate stacking against Bartolo, but I think this might be the time where the Mets are getting desperate here. They just lost another one with Harvey on the mound. This might be the time to take some Mets bats. Guys like Neil Walker, Granderson. Don't go to your usual suspects here. Like, I don't mind a Bruce or Conforto, but try to get a little different. Walker, Granderson, Reyes. Try some of those guys, I think, especially with those prices. You could fit DeGrom, you could fit Carrasco, and I think it'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm iffy today, man. I don't have as much love for my boys as I normally would. That line scares me a little bit, though.
Do you think the reason that line open like that is because people are just gun shy after watching the Mets the last few days and seeing Harvey and everyone's like, oh, Harvey's bad now. Oh, Thor's hurt. The Mets are just kind of in a tailspin, so they're kind of just like,
yeah, but I feel like that.
They kind of expect
like that's all the more reason for people to be on the Mets because they're desperate, right? Like they lost the game with Thor pitching. They lost the game with Harvey pitching. Okay, they're not going to get swept. DeGrom is not going to let the Mets get swept, right? So I feel like Vegas pretty much took a stance, and they could have taken the wrong stance. It's very rare that you see the Sharps play a short favorite like that in this kind of situation. You would think they would want to back Cologne, but it looks like they did back the Mets. The line did jump drastically, so I do like the Mets, and I do like DeGrom. But I'm going to be monitoring that line tomorrow for sure. But yeah, I do like the Mets for sure. Okay, we got Jared Eichhoff of the Philadelphia Phillies visiting Jake Arrieta of the Chicago Cubs. Go ahead, Matt.
Boy, Jake Arrieta has been not very good lately, and he seems to have quite a home run problem. But that being said, it's hard not to like him in the spot against the Phillies offense that's not very good on a really cold day, 47 degrees in Chicago with the wind blowing in. It's hard not to like him, but he just seems like he's maybe lost a little bit. So I think I'm leaning more towards Carrasco and DeGrom. But as a contrarian GPP play, I don't mind Arrieta. And then on the other side, I think Eichhoff is interesting because I think he's a fairly talented pitcher, and the Cubs do strike out a bit. And then all the reasons I just mentioned of why I like Arrieta a little bit, I think Eichhoff is interesting also. And then for the reasons I said, cold, blah, 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 I'm not really on the batters here, especially because the Cubs are their usual, really expensive.
Right, absolutely. Go ahead, Fuego.
I don't like Jake Arrieta. He left the Orioles, then he won the Cy Young. And then when I decided to play him in DFS last year, he started his slide and was stink. So I have something against him, so I probably won't be playing him, and at least I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And there you go. Eichhoff, another one of these middle pitchers. Maybe again on DraftKings, but there's a few more pitchers coming up I like better. And as for the hitter side, I'll play some Cubs sometimes, but it depends on that win. It just depends. The win coming in, the win going out. So I kind of like to wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. As of right now, the win doesn't look to be anything helpful. from what we see. But we're gonna have to check for sure. It's a windy city. It makes a big difference. I'm with Matt. I think Arrieta would be a very interesting tournament play. I think people are gonna be afraid to go there. I think everybody's gonna jump to the guys we mentioned, and I think a lot of people are gonna overlook Arrieta. The Phillies have been putting up runs in Chicago. So I don't think people are looking, and it's not so much as the Phillies have been hitting, because the Phillies at the end of the day they're still the Phillies. But I think it's more so what you said, Matt. It's the fact that Arrieta has been a gas can lately. He's been getting blown up. But you take away the wins and you put him in a big ballpark without the win factor against a bad Phillies team with I think I'm with you, especially Arrieta's price. Like, you're not going to see him this low, at least on FanDuel anyway. You're not going to see him this low very often once he gets it together, unless he's just a Matt Harvey and just is terrible now, which I doubt. I think his stuff is still a lot better than Harvey. So, yeah, I like Arrieta as a sneaky tournament play, to be honest. I really do. And as far as go ahead.
I was going to say the only reason I do like him a little bit is because even though he hasn't been good and his home run rate is really high, his strikeout rate is still there.
Yes, 100%.
So if he does have a good game, the strikeout rate's still there. I can see it. Whereas like a guy like Matt Harvey, like strikeout stuff. So even if he does have a good / lucky game, I just don't think he's going to get you with a game.
Yeah,
right.
No, 100% agree. As far as Eichhoff, I like him in right-handed dominant lineups. There's too much left-handed power for me to take Eichhoff here. He does struggle a bit against lefties. So I'm not too big on Eichhoff, but I love Arrieta, man. I like Arrieta a lot for sure. All right, we got Kendall Graveman of the Oakland Athletics visiting Hector Santiago, the lefty from the Minnesota Twins. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, is right.
I'm gonna have to take a look here before I give a reasonable take. It looks like it's a nice day in Minnesota, 60 degrees with the wind blowing out 10 miles an hour. All right, so slightly helpful. Hector's way too expensive on DraftKings for me to consider using. 7,500 is way too expensive, but Oakland's not very good. Graveman on the other side, I think Minnesota's just a little bit too good for me to want Graveman. I like Chris Davis as a one-off. I'm probably not going to stack Oakland because I just don't think they're good enough to get me there. On the other side, Dozier, Sano, Kepler, Grossman, Vargas, they're all fine as one-offs, but I'm not excited about this stack either.
For sure. Go ahead, Fuego. What you got?
I know that was very good analysis, but
you don't like the game. You don't like the game. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm agreeing with you again, except I think I like Santiago a little more on FanDuel if you're going down for pitcher. He's only 7,400. But the rest of the stuff, I agree. I'm not the run totals. The problem is the run totals are 4.2 and 4.4 implied each, which is, again, in that middle to the higher tier. They're above 4, which we have a lot of teams that are under 4. So that makes me, if I'm thinking about Vegas, makes me want to play some of these guys. So I'll have to look at it. I think the Twins I like a little bit more than Oakland for sure on the batter side.
This might be a little bit of a hot take, but it's tough. I have a little bit of interest in the Oakland bats. They're terrible. They're absolutely, and we talked about it on the pod yesterday. They are terrible, and they're striking out at a tremendous clip. But again, it's one of those situations where I think people are going to see, okay, Santana came in, shut them down, and Santiago's another one of those BABIP guys. So you know what? I don't necessarily know if I would stack the A's. Maybe like a guy like Rosales if I'm looking for a punt, or Chris Davis, like you said, if I'm looking for big upside. So I don't know about a full stack, but maybe 2 or 3 guys I could probably finagle away. But either way, my main point, more than I like the Oakland offense, I think I dislike Santiago in this spot. There's just too many righties there. I'm not a big Santiago believer, and I know that he's got some pretty interesting BABIP numbers. He's going to explode at some point, so I'm going to have to take the opposite stance. I'm not big on Santiago. I don't like Graveman either. I can see hitters here. I think the hitters are going to go overlooked because people don't really know what to do with him. But I'm not big on either pitcher. I don't know. And it looks like we got some bad weather anyway, so this could get ugly. This could be just a nasty situation in general. But yeah, I don't like this game. I really don't. All right, we got Nick Martinez of the Texas Rangers visiting Charlie Morton of the Houston Astros. Go ahead, Matt.
Charlie Morton had 12 strikeouts against his Oakland in his last start. That's crazy.
Oakland's been that
because
bad,
it's Oakland.
They really have.
Yeah,
I got to say that point for Fuego. I see why you want like Santiago. Oakland is that bad.
Yeah, because Morton doesn't ever strike out anybody, and then 12. Anyways, as far as this game goes, I don't want Morton just because I have a lot of respect for Texas and they have so many lefties that can beat him up. That I would much rather have the Texas bats. And then on the other side, I don't think Nick Martinez is good enough to deal with the Houston bats either. And it seems like Houston is a little bit of a reverse splits team. They are very right-handed, but all their righties hit righties better. So I think I have a lot of interest in the bats here on both sides.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Fuego.
Yeah, we got back to the Houston bats again. I've been playing them a lot. I think a lot of people have. They have a 4.9 implied run total, which is the highest on the slate, tied with who we see earlier with the Boston Red Sox. So they're up there almost at 5 runs. And I'll have some stacks for sure. Altuve, Correa, all the big guys. I've been playing them. Reddick, he's still under $3,000. He's got a big WOBA difference, I think, an ISO difference, so I'll play him. And I always like the Texas bats as well. I'm not high on either pitcher.
Yeah, I'm okay with the bats. I don't know if I love them, but I'm okay with them. To be honest, my main concern is I think Morton's more of a ground ball pitcher. And is Nick Martinez a ground ball pitcher or a fly ball pitcher? I don't remember. It's been a while since I looked at his stats. I'm going to have to check into that. But if they're both ground ball pitchers, then
you're asking the wrong guy.
He looks pretty neutral.
Pretty neutral?
Slants.
Okay. So I like that. I don't want to go against Texas. I don't like the pitchers for sure. No way. But I'm kind of, I can see the hitters, but they don't stand out to me drastically. I definitely prefer the Houston bats, but at the same time, I really like the Texas bats too. So I know it's not a strong take, but that's the thing. We're not really having strong takes because it's a hard slate. It's weird. You can't really get a good feel, and the totals are odd. It's just an odd slate. It really is.
Yeah. If I'm reading this correctly, Nick Martinez is a 50%, which is pretty funny.
Go figure, right?
Grab ball, right?
Yeah, grab ball.
Go figure.
Yeah.
All right, we got Chase Anderson of the Milwaukee Brewers visiting Adam Wainwright of the St. Louis Cardinals. Looks like we could have a little bit of weather threat here. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh man, big time weather threat here. Yeah, I doubt this game plays, but if it does, 49 degrees with the wind blowing in at 15 miles an hour. I would have interest in Adam Wainwright for sure, just because the Brewers strike out a bunch and they're kind of more right-handed, and Wainwright just had a good start against them, so I would have interest in Wainwright. And then Chase Anderson, can we have interest in him against a bad St. Louis team? I think we can, and he also had a decent start against St. Louis in his last outing, so I would be on the pitchers here and off the hitters.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Fuego.
Yeah, both pitchers had good outings last time against the other teams. So I agree with that there. Milwaukee has cooled off some of the bats. Eric Thames has definitely cooled down some. So, I'm not sure I'm going to go back there. The Brewers have a 3.4 implied run total, so that's not something I'm looking to target, which makes me lean a little bit towards Wainwright too. As well.
For sure. What's interesting is today, Peralta. Anybody have any idea how many strikeouts Peralta had? Wiley Peralta against the Cardinals today?
What do they have, 9 or something?
He had 7, but it was only through 5 and 1. So five and a third innings, and he 7 Ks against a team that supposedly doesn't strike out. Wiley Peralta, dude, what happened? Why is he good all of a sudden? What happened? I don't understand. He all of a sudden,
really?
It's gotta be right. What else is it? You know what? Him and Thames. That's it. That's it. We just figured it out.
And they figured out how to test.
We're gonna have to send this podcast to the MLB and let them know that we figured out the master plan here. But yeah, I'm okay with Wainwright.
They know. Go ahead. Yeah, I was saying they know they've been testing Thames every other day.
Yeah, for real. He's been taking the attention away from Peralta. Right. That's exactly what's been. Anyway, I would have interest in the pitchers, but I think the weather's going to make it tough to even play the pitchers because even if the game plays, you got to wonder is there going to be a delay? Is he going to come out? But yeah, I'm not crazy about the hitters. I wouldn't mind taking Thames just as a one-off, just because the guy is a freak. But yeah, I don't like this game, and I'm hoping it doesn't play, so there's one less game on the slate. To be honest with you. All right, we got Mike Pelfrey of the Chicago White Sox visiting Nate Carnes of the Kansas City Royals. Go ahead, Matt.
Gosh, I wish Mike Pelfrey was pitching against any other team than the terrible Kansas City Royals in a terrible ballpark with the wind blowing in. But that being said, I can't play Mike Pelfrey because he just stinks and he doesn't strike anybody out. On the other side, Nate Karns is a little interesting because he's really cheap. And like I just said, the ballpark's huge. The wind's blowing in. It's cold. And the White Sox are very right-handed. Right. So I think I have a little interest in Karns. And then it's hard to say zero bats with Pelfrey pitching. So maybe I can get on a few of these Kansas City bats.
Right.
But I'm not excited about it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. I would be less likely to go Karns on FanDuel because he hasn't been getting the quality starts as much. So more likely on DraftKings there. And I would be interested in some of the Kansas City bats. They have a 4.4 implied run total, which is towards the highest on the slate, to be honest with you. We have a couple 4.9s and then drops off to 4.4 actually. So, anytime you got the second or the third and fourth highest implied run total, I like to target those. So that's what I'm going to they'll be right under Kansas, the Cleveland, which is 4.6. So I like them, the bats, and I don't like Pelfrey at all.
No, yeah. Pelfrey is just the absolute worst, dude. I mean, listen, take it from me. He was on the Mets for a while, man. They kept waiting for this guy to be good. No matter how many times he licks his big nasty hands, he is not good. So I love talking. I hate when he does that. I used to hate it. You watch him pitch. He's constantly. It's obnoxious, dude. But and he's a big guy. But anyway, I don't like Pelfrey at all. Obviously, I don't think there's ever a scenario where I would ever play the guy on a one-game slate. I would not play Mike Pelfrey as a second pitcher. Anyway, yeah, it sucks. This is like the worst scenario to target against him. The wind looks like it's blowing in about 14 miles an hour. It's not very warm. It's like 50-something degrees, and it's a bad ballpark to begin with. It sucks because I really want to take these guys. Hosmer, Moose, like these guys have been waking up. Hosmer finally hit a home run. Kane, like I want to. I just don't think I can with this weather. I know it's got a higher total, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that total drop. I do actually have some interest in Karns, just because, like you guys both said, the White Sox are right-hand heavy. I think Fuego made a great point. He's probably better suited on DraftKings because I don't see Karns reaching the ceiling of a DeGrom, Carrasco, or any of those other guys that we mentioned. But if I'm looking, if I really just want to pay up for bats, if I all I care about is getting the bats. He would be the pitcher that I would feel most comfortable with against a White Sox team in a pitcher's park with horrible weather. So, other than that, I mean, these games are ugly. They're terrible. They're just terrible. You know what I mean? And they just get better. Jeff Samardzija of the San Francisco Giants against Julio Urias of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Your Los Angeles Dodgers, Matt. Tell us about Urias and tell us about this game.
Well, these are two of the more talented pitchers on the slate. But I'm not excited to play Samardzija because the Dodgers hit righties really well. And I'm not excited to play Urias because they don't let him pitch long enough. And, he has a little bit of control issues and his walk rate is a little bit too high. But he's really talented and has filthy stuff.
For sure.
So that being said, and with the Dodgers bullpen being pretty good, I'm not really interested in the Giants. The Dodgers are fairly priced. I could have some interest in Seager and Turner and what's the catcher's name? Grandal. And then Bellinger's just been on fire too, so I could look to Bellinger.
For sure. Go ahead, Fuego. What you got for us?
Yeah, usually with the lowest run total the slate, I want to target, and that's the Giants at 3.1. But I'm not super sold. Just like Matt said, they don't let their pitchers go long. So we were talking about before, our models don't pick up on that, which is something you got to do when you're going on hunches and you're going on models, and you're going on stats. You got to make sure you watch the games and stuff. So, I don't like this game at all for bats or pitchers.
Gotcha. Yeah, you know what? I'd like to ask you, Matt. Like, listen, I know this Urias guy. I played him a ton last year, and he didn't go long. Like, I would just take him because he was cheap, and I would want to get bats in. So I took him a lot, especially on small slates. I like him. Yeah, he's got some control issues, but he's got big K upside. So I do like the guy. Now, and I'm not saying I don't want to play him in this matchup. The Giants don't strike out all that much, and like you said, he's on a pitch count. What I want to know is why is this kid against Jeff Samardzija, a respectable name? Why is he minus 157 against Samardzija? Isn't that weird? Does that seem a little weird?
I just think that that the Dodgers lineup is just way better than the Giants.
Right.
And like I said, the Dodgers bullpen is good, and the Giants have been just terrible this year. I think they have the 29th most runs per game.
Right.
Their bullpen has been bad. It's in LA, and like I said, the Dodgers hit righties well.
Right.
So I just think it's all those factors.
Yeah, I mean, it seems high to me, which makes me think that they're trying to bait people into taking Samardzija. I really do. A lot of people don't know Urias. He's not talked about all that much nationally, so it's not like he's not on everybody's radar. I think only
people in LA know.
Yeah. People in LA know him, of course, but around the rest of the country, I don't think if you're not a DFS player, you probably don't really know who this kid is. So I think for the the average sports bettor, they're gonna hop on Samardzija at plus 145. They don't like to lay those big numbers anyway. They're gonna want action on the game. It's a late night game. I think the Dodgers bats are very interesting here. Very interesting. And I know it's a small, 3.9 is not impressive, but hey, they were something low tonight too. Look what they're putting, double-digit runs right now for the Dodgers. So they've been hot. I like the Dodgers a bit, I think. The bats.
Yeah, and I think, as a Dodgers fan, I kind of hope they play this Bellinger every day and just put Agon on the bench, because this kid looks for real, and that's just another lefty to add to their repertoire.
Yeah, and Adrian Gonzalez, let's be real, man. Listen, I understand he was good for a while, but I think his time has certainly passed. He hasn't been significantly relevant in a while.
Yeah, agreed. And you can get Bellinger for 2,600, so I agree
for sure. All right, we got Ricky Nolasco of the Los Angeles Angels.
Of Anaheim.
There it is. A little late that time. Against Hisashi Iwakuma of the Seattle Mariners. Go ahead, Matt.
I don't have interest in either pitcher here. Neither have a high strikeout rate. Neither team strikes out enough for me to have interest in either pitcher. On the hitting side, I'm not going to stack the Angels because they're not good enough. But Mike Trout's the best baseball player in the world, so I have interest in him. The Mariners are all fairly priced. I don't think they're quite going to make the cut for my stack, but I'm fine with Cruz, Cano, Seager, Segura, all those guys.
For sure. Go ahead, Fuego.
Sure.
I'm not adding much to this podcast.
It's a tough slate, dude. It really is.
I'm just.
It's hard, man.
I'm just here for the good looks. So, I agree with Matt. There's nothing I'm interested in really. Under 4 for both teams, implied run totals. The Angel, they don't strike out a lot, right? So, Nolasco may be a little interest. Okay, here you go. Let me see. What's his DraftKings price? 79. All right, I'll take a stand with Nolasco as my second pitcher, hypothetically, where I had to play DraftKings, which I probably won't.
Man, the only thing I like in this game is actually the Seattle bats. I think they could be sneaky. 4.2 is decent for a run projection. They are favorites against Nolasco. I'm not an Iwakuma fan. I don't like the pitchers here, but I'm just not a believer in Nolasco. And on top of that, if I'm attacking Seattle, I think I'd rather play them. At least last year, maybe not this year so much, but last year they struggled against lefties. They did do something about that. They got Danny Valencia, they got Segura, they got in a couple righties, and Zunino. So they did something about that. So either way, I'm just not sold on Nolasco. I don't think he really has K upside. And this is a bad ballpark, but Seattle has some serious power between Seager, Cruz, Cano. These guys got power. So I do have some interest in the Seattle bats for sure. I actually like them. I like them quite a bit because I think they'll go overlooked.
They will go for sure.
Yeah. All right, Antonio Senzatella, the righty of the Colorado Rockies, visiting Jared Weaver of the San Diego Padres. Go ahead, Matt. Last game.
I actually like Senzatella a lot here. We know that Petco is great for pitchers. We know the Padres strike out a lot. Senzatella looks pretty good so far this season. And, especially away from Coors Field. And even in Coors Field, he's had 3 good starts, 22, 15, 20 DraftKings points. And then the last game he got lit up by the Nationals at home in Coors Field. So that I give him a pass for that. But at 6,200 with all those factors working in his favor, he's definitely my favorite of the cheap pitchers. And then on the other side, you obviously can't play Jared Weaver. He's, terrible. But the Rockies are maybe a little bit too expensive on DraftKings for me to love in this ballpark. But, maybe I can get myself there because Weaver is just terrible and he has a big home run problem and he just stinks. So, maybe I can get myself on the Rockies.
Go ahead, Fuego. What you got for us?
I take back what I said about Nolasco. I like Senzatella as my second.
There you go.
pitcher.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I can get down with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I like. Yeah, definitely. He's 7 innings in 1, 2, 3 straight there. He went 6 last time. He got rocked pretty good. But before that, he gone 7 straight. And he doesn't have the K upside I like, but on DraftKings, he's put up 20, 15, 22, 19, which isn't bad. So there you go. He's a good cheap second guy.
Yeah.
And not too thrilled. Maybe some Rocky bats just because they're going against San Diego, but they haven't impressed me much this year.
Yeah, you're right. Outside of Coors, they have struggled a bit, but yeah, I'm with you guys on Senzatella, especially after seeing today the Padres they're kind of roping Chatwood, who's actually one of their better pitchers. I think Senzatella's got some interesting stuff. Padres strike out a lot. Why not take a chance? It's a tournament, right? If you're playing tournaments, go ahead, try them out. If you're playing cash, you're paying up a pitcher. But if you're playing tournaments, actually, you know what? As a second starting pitcher option, he might not be the worst idea against the Padres. I like Senzatella. I'm with you guys. I'll get on FanDuel. I don't see too much use for him unless you're playing the late slate. But yeah, I don't forget about Weaver. Weaver in the 7s is ridiculous. I love the Rockies bats again, just because from an ownership standpoint, they're not going to be there. I know it's a horrible ballpark, but these guys. Listen, I'll tell you one thing. Once the Rockies go back to Coors, Ian Desmond is going to be ridiculous chalk. So if you want to play Desmond, play him now before he goes back to Coors, because once he goes to Coors, he's going to be mega chalk, and I wouldn't be surprised if he busts. So yeah, I have some interest in the Rockies bats for sure. So that's gonna do it for the game by game breakdown. We have a little bit of time here. We got a little under 10 minutes. So I want to ask Matt. Let's start with you. Like what is your overall feel for this slate? Because I'm having a hard time mapping it out. Like you know what I'm saying?
I'm actually excited about it. I mean, like we said, there's no clear I love this guy, I love this stack, but I think it makes for an interesting tournament stack, and I think it's a good slate to really get deep into your research and find stuff you want and use those Roto Sharks cheat sheets to really help you, figure out what you like.
For sure, it's a great take. Fuego, you got anything to add? What is your feel for this slate overall?
My feel right now is pay up for the pitching on FanDuel, and check what the basketball contests are like.
I love it. It's strange because the games that I like the most are the early games, like Toronto. I do think Toronto's interesting. I like the both Baltimore and Boston. I like the Rays, and then I kind of like the Mets. I kind of like the Dodgers in Seattle. I kind of like the Rockies, but for me, you know what? My night might be over fairly quick, because I think most of the bats I like are in these beginning games here. I really do. But with the teams I mentioned.
You know what you need to do?
What's that?
You need to stack up all the early games in the main slate, and then you play the late night and the turbo slate, and then you get exposure across the whole slate.
And then I'll never have to really give a strong take.
That's right. You take a little bit of everybody.
Man, all right. So let's give it a shot, Matt. Listen. For those of you that want to know Matt's final selection of stacks, you're going to have to look at his article tomorrow on Daily Roto Sharks, Matt Stacks. But just right now, just go over some of the stacks that you kind of like, you think.
Boston's my favorite, for sure. I like Cleveland a lot. I think I like the Marlins a lot. And then kind of as secondary, I like the Mets, I like Tampa, I like the Rangers, I like the Astros.
Okay, for sure. Fuego, do you like any of those stacks, or what? You got some different takes, or what?
No, that's a lot. Yeah, we got about half the teams that are supposed to score less than 4 runs, so you kind of have to like the other half. And I do like all the ones that are closer to 5, obviously, than the Red Sox and Houston are the two big ones, and Cleveland.
Well, why don't we start with this? What do we think is going to be the chalk? Boston?
Red Sox.
It's got to be Boston, right? They got to be the chalk.
Yeah, the way, yeah, for sure.
Man, on a 15-game slate, it's tough to lock in one. But you saw the Yankees today. I mean, they had another one of those teams, 4 point whatever. I think it was 5.1 their projection, and they came through. They crushed it.
Well, yeah, that's the debate. Do you fade the chalk or not on a 15-game slate?
Right.
I did not when my Yankees lineups are doing the best.
Right.
But one of my buddies was saying, it was an easy fade with, and so I don't know. I got some at 15%. That's not super high, but that's high for a 15-game slate, I guess. Right. So I don't know. You got to go with your gut there. And on the big slates, I tend not to worry as much about the ownership percentages.
Correct. That's a good point. Because even if somebody's chalky, what are they going to be? 15, 20, 20%? You know what I'm saying? It's not like they're going to be 50 or 60%. So I think that's a good take. You got anything to add, Matt?
No, I mean, my friend calls me Mr. Chalk on these big slates. I just play the teams I want. And I don't worry about it. And that might be to my detriment, but that's just kind of the way I roll.
I don't blame you, man. All right, you guys ready for some Dong Watch?
Let's do it.
Well, let's do that real quick. And just to add on that, I agree. Some people get too caught up in it. And, you're talking 15 games. Like I said, tonight I had 16 and 15%. I had 50 points out of these guys. I'll take that all day long.
Yeah.
So if they were the chalk, they were the chalk. And you don't have to have everyone in your lineup. It doesn't have to be unique.
Sure.
You could just have a couple guys that are unique and 6 guys are chalk, So don't get too caught up on that on the big games.
That's a great point. At the end of the day, you got to play the players that you're going to feel. Even if you lose, if you played the players you liked, it's a lot better than playing players you didn't even like and losing. So at the end of the day, yeah, I think you guys are right. Play the players you like. Like, yeah, it's important to be aware of the chalk, be aware you're playing the chalk so that you know to differentiate elsewhere. But just because somebody's chalk and we say somebody's chalk doesn't mean to fade them. I think that's a great point that you guys make. One thing before we play Dong Watch, I think I'm selling myself more and more on the Toronto and Baltimore side. I like the Boston stack. I'm not going to fade them. But I think I like Toronto and Baltimore. I really do. And Seattle, the Mets, Rays, I kind of like those a little bit. But anyway, you guys ready to play some Dong Watch?
Yep.
All right, so interesting. So let's see. Who's going to go first here? I tell you what, Matt, I got a number between 1 and 10 in my head. You pick a number.
7.
Fuego, pick a number, 1 to 10.
4.
Number was 3. Fuego, you get first pick. Go ahead.
I'm going to say Jose Altuve.
Ah, interesting. All right. Go ahead, Matt.
Mike Trout.
Oh, yes. You knew that was coming. Okay, I get 2 here. So I'm going to take Mr. Batista, Jose Batista. I know he's been cold, but I'm going to give it a shot. And for my second pick, I got to stick to my takes, man. I have to try. Second take, I'm gonna go with Adam Jones as my second pick.
Oh.
I'm back to you,
man. All right, give me Chris Davis with a K.
Okay. You got 2 here.
I'm gonna say Benintendi goes deep against Gausman, and he has reverse splits too. I'm gonna hedge again with Hanley Ramirez. I'm gonna say they're both here. Gausman, I want to like him, but I think that he's not gonna be able to get it done tomorrow. I'm gonna go with Ramirez too. They're both gonna hit homers off him.
Okay, I can dig it. Go ahead, Matt. What you got for us?
Give me Giancarlo.
You got it. And for me, I'm gonna stick with these Orioles. I'm gonna go with Trumbo. I feel like at least one of those guys should go yard. So you know what? I mean, listen. We broke down the games. We went game by game. It's kind of hard. There's like no real like seriously strong takes because of the fact that I think like, oh yeah, I like this, but then you hear points on the other side and you're like, well yeah, I can kind of see that too. So there's a lot to like, but there's also a lot, but there's nothing to love. So I think that's
I just want to point out too, just people keep in mind we record this, the night before, and there's a lot of research to be done and reading to be done and stats to look at throughout the day. wait for those cheat sheets to come up, see what they produce, see what things like that, and do more searching. What we say is certainly not the final end all be all for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely be waiting on those sheets just to get an idea statistically and kind of see who they like and just see if I agree, if I disagree, and that's why the sheets are so important. They got all the stats right there. They got ratings, so it's important to see what if what you're seeing is the same thing you should be seeing and things like that. So definitely want to do that. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the WiseTake DFS podcast for tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that like button. If subscribe to the channel, of course. We're growing at a great rate, and we want to keep it going. If you're watching if you're listening on Podbean, give us a follow. If you're listening on iTunes, subscribe to the channel. Leave us some reviews. We want to bump up those charts. We need some more reviews. We only have a couple. Listen, guys, if you want to support the podcast, if you want to start winning, if you want to have your little Daily Roto Sharks advantage, aside from checking out the articles for free, but courtesy of Matt Amon and Fuego Steve over here on the Daily Roto Sharks site, they do have the cheat sheet subscriptions. You get access to our experts. You get access to the Slack chat. You click the link in the description. Help yourself. Help the podcast. 2 birds with 1 stone. Sign up for your cheat sheets now. Link is right all set up for you there. Anyway, guys, listen, it was a blast. It's going to be an interesting slate. Definitely an interesting tournament slate for sure. So, Matt, Fuego, it's always a pleasure to have you guys on, man. Appreciate it all the time. Always have a blast with you guys. Love talking some baseball with you guys. So for Matt, for Fuego, for myself, as always, good luck.
Yeah.